Hello and welcome to another video from
Absolute Game Off.
Nerd! So as you can see by my title, kind of today's video, not going to be super long, but I realized as I got my last book that, hey, it's now July actually. And so we've completed 6 months. I should do a kind of year in review in terms of how the collecting has gone. I'm not going to do like all of the comic copy, but just kind of my personal collecting in terms of how they relate to the goals I set forth at the beginning of the year, right? And obviously this would follow up with an end of the year review. But we are halfway through, so let's kind of take a look at this. And I kind of want to start back, when I did my goal video at the beginning of the year. One of the things that I talked about was the cards, and I have really stepped back from the cards. To be honest, like I kind of already lost a love. Not a lot. They're still great. There are just a lot of things that I don't find worth my time anymore in cards, except for a few special things that if they were to pop up, I would absolutely jump on them, but they're very rare and far and few between. So I had talked about the goals of getting that Stan Lee auto. That really hasn't gone anywhere because nothing has really popped up. And outside of that, really, I'm not going to pursue anything else. But with that, I have also essentially sold almost all of my cards, right? I've only kept a handful of a few really kind of special Silver Surfer and Thing pieces. That, as you will see, has led to kind of a big boon in terms of what I've done comic collecting wise, right? A lot of these have been funded by just moving on from that kind of card space, as I have. Again, there still are a few that I want and still have. But for the most part, I'm getting serious. Like, we are going to make this the first appearance collection. Like, this is what we are focusing on. And so with that in mind, right, I kind of want to start with kind of the goals I set up comic book wise in 2024. So you may not remember, but I kind of had a couple tiers. So the A tier, right? These are the 4 like grail level books that I wanted to go after. And again, I didn't think that I would be able to get all 4 in 2024, but the goal was kind of 2 of them. And as you'll see, and most of you know, or some of you know, like I've already gotten 2 of them, right? And so there is a possibility for the third. We'll talk about that. And then from there, I had kind of my B list, which are also, big books, but I wanted to see if I could snag a couple of these, right? In addition, I made a third kind of page like this that showed like just small side quest books if I found on good deals. I've come to the opinion now I'm all in on these big books. Like, I don't want to divert money away from the pot, even if it's just $100. Like, I am pulling all in for the big hitters. Of course, my way is low grade, but well presenting. So in 2024, I've acquired 7 books so far. And I'm going to go through them, and I'll kind of go through them from like bottom to top. And I'll go kind of in terms of value and in terms of like, what I want, right? It just kind of worked out that way. So let's get into it. So the number 7 book on my list is Werewolf by Night, 32, right? First appearance of Moon Knight. Again, this wasn't on a goal list, and there is one other book that isn't on the goal list, but I found it at the shop when I went on Free Comic Book Day, and it was too good of a deal to pass up. It fits my kind of ideals of a major first appearance. I did want the first appearance of Moon Knight. I just didn't know when it would happen. And when I saw that, I kind of had to jump on it. It's a lower grade one, but again, for the price, too good to pass up. So my number 7 book, Werewolf by Night, 32, first appearance of Moon Knight. Right. And then this, if you remember, I actually traded for this. This is obviously Detective Comics 359, first appearance of the Barbara Gordon Batgirl. I traded this on January 1st. So this was the first book I got of the year. I traded, the biggest one was a signed X-Men 266. Funny enough, in all the things, and I think I sold, I can't remember exactly, but I remember in what I traded and moved, I made enough to actually then go back and get X-Men 266. So I have a nice copy of that. I didn't include it in this list because it's just kind of a replacement. But that was a good trade. And this was from Mark from Collectibles, right? So again, when I've traded with Mark, and it's always worked out well for me. So super excited to add Tech 359. So that is number 6. Number 5, Fantastic Four 12, right? Again, not a first appearance, but this is the first time the Hulk comes across the Fantastic Four, and most notably the Thing. It's also the first time in Marvel Comics that a major title character has crossed over into another major title, that being Hulk into Fantastic Four. Outside of first appearance books, like this may be my absolute favorite book. Like I'm a Thing fan, I'm a Fantastic Four fan. I love the Hulk. Like the cover by Jack Kirby. I love the colors against the gray. I'm all in on this book. I love it. I don't care if it's not a blue chip book. Like I love this book, and I'm glad to add it back. Again, this was also via Market Collectibles, and this was via trade. I traded a Batman 232 was the big one. First appearance to Ra's al Ghul. Great book. This was just more important to me. And, maybe one day in the future, I will reacquire a Batman 232, but was happy to get this. From there, so this is number 5. That means number 4 book. Oh, did it work? There it is, X-Men number 4. Again, this was the other book that was not on my goal list. Again, I got this from Mark from Collectibles. He posted, and I was like, that is a good price, and I am going to jump on it. So at the time, I was all in on the X-Men one, and I was like, no matter what, I'm going for X-Men one. I'm not buying anything else. But this came up, and I was like, okay, let's pick this up. And to fund it, I sold ASM 252, Secret Wars 8, and a couple other smaller Silver Age books, but more than made enough for this one. But yeah, this is the first appearance, of course, of Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and also notably the second appearance of Magneto, who is front and center on this cover. I love this book. I think it's a great book. Wasn't on the goal list, but it's just one of those ones like I definitely wanted. This would be on my goal list eventually, so it just worked out that I got it this year. Super happy with that. So going from there, number 4, big one, House of Secrets 92. Again, I got this from Joe from 360 Comics. With this book, right, to me, top 10 all-time cover, right? Yes, it is the first appearance of Swamp Thing, but this cover to me, I just love. It's my favorite horror cover. Again, top 10 all-time for me. I absolutely love it. So my dilemma was I didn't want to, like, once you kind of get up above the 5.0 range, it kind of gets into that 4-figure number price. Didn't want to do that for this book since I'm not super tied to Swamp Thing. And so when Joe posted a preview on his claim sale and I saw this, I was like, ooh. So it's a 3.5, obviously, but often when you see a 3.5, they're pretty faded. And I just thought the colors on this look great. Like, I feel like if I cracked this, like if you read the grade results, it fully justifies 3.5, but it presents very well. And I bet if I cracked this and I just showed it to you, you could say this was a higher grade. So this was just right up my house. So I hit up Joe. His price is good. It was going up in his claim sale that night. And he was like, if it doesn't sell, we can talk about offers and things like that. Thankfully, no one jumped on it. And, we made a deal that night and shipped out. And in my hands, it is. So House of Secrets, super pumped to add this one. And this was, of course, on that B tier list. And now the 2 big ones. So I guess I was off by number. So now we're getting into the big books, right? So these were the A tier. This one being Fantastic Four, number 5. Oh, and I should say, House of Secrets 92, 100% funded by selling cards. This book, also 100% funded by moving on from cards. So that's why I was able to get more than one on the A tiers because of that. So obviously, Fantastic Four, number 5, first appearance of Dr. Doom. What do you say? Like, this is just, in my opinion, the best Marvel villain first appearance. And as far as comics in general, I would only put Batman number 1, which is the first appearance of the Joker, ahead of this in terms of super villain first appearances. Again, that's my opinion. Some would say maybe Luthor or whoever. This, in my opinion, is the number 2 biggest, baddest supervillain in all of comics. And this is his first appearance. Great Jack Kirby cover. Again, 1.5, but I think this looks great for 1.5. This one was a 1.5 primarily because of the detached cover and centerfold. Again, that is no bother to me. I will happily take a complete blue label book. And in the slab, I think you can't tell that it's detached, and it presents great for a 1.5. I've showed it to multiple people, and their first response is, "Why is this a 1.5?" That's what I go for. It's in my range, and it presents well. I'm all in. So Fantastic Four #5, and then of course you can guess the #1 book, right? The biggest book, and the book that I said was priority #1 in 2024, X-Men #1. Again, this worked out. Oh, Fantastic Four #5 I got from John Garner 757 on Instagram. He's a IG dealer. Great guy. I ended up working with him. Super awesome guy to work with. So I highly recommend checking him out. And then again, X-Men #1. This is again back to Joe from 360 Comics. Funny how it worked out this way. Like I kind of was saving up the money, and then I ended up that's when I started selling. So the last kind of third of this fund was from, again, moving on from cards. And when I had the sales done, I remember I was talking to both JP and Mike from Lunch Money. I was like, hey, all right, keep the lookout on an X-Men 1, 1.0 to 2.0. Let's see where I can find one that fits my price, but looks great. And Mike, if you remember, we helped him, or we discussed, he just had gotten his 1.8. That was just spectacular. And he said, hey, Joe, who I didn't know at the time, got a 1.5 that looks just as good as my 1.8. And I was like, oh. So I went to Joe's Instagram page, and I wasn't following him at the time. So I clicked follow, and he had posted him just getting this book via trade and had just graded it. And he was like, this is going to my PC. I was like, oh, he's not going to sell because it looked great. I just messaged him and shot him and said, hey, if you are ever looking to move on from that book, that is what I'm looking for. And he's like, I could be persuaded to make a deal and potentially go after a higher grade one. And so that started the conversation, and here we are today. Again, why this is a 1.5, it has some water damage, mostly seen on the back. All good with me, right? That presentation on the front's all that matters. So I am more than happy with that. So that wraps up the books that I've got so far in 2024. I do want to go back to my goal list that I showed. So when I think of what I was saying, right, I'm all in now on these big books. So when you look at here, you see Tales of Suspense 39 and Journey into Mystery 83. I am going to get one of those two books this year, right? Could it happen to be two? Maybe some things really go my way. But I'm definitely counting on one of those two. Which one will it be? It really is a function of when I have the ability, and that timing matches up with what I find the right deal on the right copy for me for. So it doesn't matter which one is first, Iron Man or Thor, but they are going to be the next two books I am chasing. So one of those two will be added for the 2024, haul. With that in mind, I do want to scroll back to the B list. And I am, as some of you know, if we've talked about, meeting up with a lot of the crew, including JP and Mike, who I've mentioned, at Terrificon next month in August. And a bunch of other guys, right? Mon Comics and Colossus Collector and Dan's. I mean, Bruce, up north, all these guys that we've had on our channel, we're meeting up at Terrificon. I'm going to, just kick it and have a great time that we can obviously and then be at Terrificon. So I'll have some funds on hand. I want to get some sketches, but, I'm willing to have a little fun. And I don't think I'll have the funds, obviously, to get the Gym 83 or the Toss 39. So I do want to see if I can pick up something fun. And so when I think about that, it's like I'm okay diverting, being a little distracted to have a little fun at the event that weekend. So if I look at this list, right, I see ASM 14, AC 252 for Supergirl, Gym 85 first Loki. I'd be willing to look at those books if I could find a deal. A couple other ones I've thought about is Batman 121. So there's a chance I pick up one more off this list by the end of 2024. But again, the main focus here is either going to be a Gym 83 or a Toss 39. And it's very likely that whatever book I get at Terrificon and then one of these two books is all I get for the rest of the year. Very likely. But maybe we'll get both of these. We shall see. But that is my year in review. let me know how year 2024 has gone, collecting wise or anything. Congrats, right? Let us know in the comments. Let me know what you think of my haul so far. But otherwise, hope to see you on the next one. Peace out.